welcome back to Everything I've Never Said. I am Lakshita and I am so excited to be back and talk about this year because I figured that the 1st of January is a Monday, which is only gonna happen once in 7 or 8 years. And Monday is when I usually do episodes, so this is a good time to reminisce and look back over some of the choices I made this year and some of the things that happened. So I'm gonna talk chronologically about just debrief myself and anyone who's listening about how this year went for me, and then I'm gonna talk about some of the changes this year made in my life and how. So the beginning of this year was quite literally the most stressful period of my life, and I owe that completely to academic stress. It was solely because I was academically so worried because of a very certain important set of exams. And I remember it was a very important, very long term goal for me to do well in that particular set of exams. And it's crazy because I think I used to spend 8 hours a day studying, only studying in those days. And the remaining 16 hours of the day I spent worrying about those exams. And I'm grateful to have achieved those great goals. However, I think if I worried maybe 10 times less than I actually did, it wouldn't have made much of a difference in the results, and almost, even though I hate to say it, maybe the results could have even been better if I did not spend so much time worrying, because I used to be very preoccupied with how things are going to go. So I probably put in less time than I should have trying to improve the way things will go, if that makes sense. Moreover, there was just something about the amount of time I spent studying every single day. It's it was a very alien concept for me ever since online school. I never really got into it that well. I always just studied a day before exams and stuff just for the sake of at least being able to answer questions or something in passing. But when you spend that long preparing in advance, there was just something about the amount of effort I put in just to be able to do good, and it kind of distracted me from everything else. Sure, I was really worried about academics and stuff, but even though that was the case in the first 3 months of the year, I was particularly happy because I was only worried about academics, and no other worry really had the time to creep in into my brain and ruin my day, because every other worry at that moment was negligible for me. And then came April, where I started with 11th grade, and I had been looking forward to 11th grade ever since the beginning of 10th grade because there wasn't as much academic stress. In my perception of 11th grade, it wasn't supposed to be that stressful. But I will admit, because that's a huge shift, everything kind of changed, in all respects, I think. And it was kind of difficult for a while because everything was so different, and the people were very different, and also the subjects were completely different, and all the difficulty levels and everything. That was an academically big shift from what I was very used to. But there were also a lot of anticipations and expectations from how 11th grade was supposed to go, because I had high hopes, okay? I did not want to spend that year worrying about academics because I know that's what I'm going to do in 2024, considering it's one of the most important school years for me. Enough. I need to stop talking about school. School's not the most important thing in my life. Anyway, I had expected everything to be easier in terms of academics, but I kind of got humbled really quick. But then again, I do not really think that 11th grade was as bad as it seemed in the beginning. And I was partially getting accustomed to everything, and the stress hadn't left me because I still hadn't gotten the results of the important exams in air quotes that I gave. And May was when I got the results, and I remember being on call with one of my friends. And because the results are always just dropped spontaneously without any prior information, I didn't really expect the results to drop in. That was rather early for the results to drop, considering the history of them. And I did not expect it at all. It was just a regular May 12th for me, and I wasn't really expecting one of my biggest fears to come to life at the moment. And I was also alone. Nobody was at home with me because obviously it was a very unexpected thing. So why would people just be prepared for it? And I was alone and I was on call with someone. And I remember them telling me that the results have came in, and I did not even know how to like go to the results and check them, but I did eventually. And I remember being so excited to open them, but also terrified because I had no idea what to expect. Obviously, I set my expectations a bit lower than I should have. Just, in case of that, like, fear and horror and, oh my god, excrement that it would have caused. However, the report card was fine. It was fine. The results were fine. I was satisfied with them. I closed my horrible academic stress period with that day. And ever since then, I have not looked back, although I will have to next year. But summer came upon me, and I was doing fairly well in terms of school and catching up with all the change that was happening around me and the many, many new faces, like the many new people that I met that I did not know anything about, but like, I was familiarizing myself with people. But in the summer, I did find myself dealing with loneliness at some points, and I'm not gonna say it was actual loneliness, but like something maybe that I projected on myself through like comparison, like comparing myself to others and stuff. And that summer kind of hit me hard because of how many changes it brought. Like, I had to get used to this completely new, like, trajectory of goals, because now my goals had deviated from like performing well in those finals to a lot of different, like, they just kind of divided and kind of tributed themselves into many, many different other fields. So that was difficult. That was very, very like all over the place, and it kind of still is. I'm not even gonna deny it. In fact, in some aspects, it's more all over the place than it was in the summer. However, nothing objectively happening took place in my life last summer, though. Like, especially in comparison to 2022, I had very high hopes for this summer because I was like, well, that summer completely transformed my life. It's only fair if this one does it too. But that never happened. But it's fine. The rest of the year, I think, made up for it. August came in and I was like doing much better. I was only beginning to get more in touch with my like extroverted and vivacious side, a side of my personality that I didn't even know existed. And I was like kind of, you can say in the process of coming out of my shell. And I achieved some stuff I was really proud of, and I got to know many, many newer people. I also got to know some of the interests that I had that I thought of pursuing at maybe a higher level. I think this year as a whole just has been me discovering some of the things that I'm good at and wanting to take them to a level where they can gain recognition, or like knowing, like taking things that I already know that I'm good at and elevating it to the next level, or showcasing that in a way, because I used to be very reserved about my interests and I used to somewhat gatekeep them, but I'm only now like learned to be fine with actually expressing my interest and actually maybe following my hobbies on a level that is higher than just my own knowledge. But one thing about August was like it was just a big butterfly effect month for me, because a lot of like a string of really small and at the time very normal seeming incidents kind of unfurled into something very significant and something very important, something that's still impactful and is still very prevalent in my life. And that, like, if I try to trace it back, all of it somewhat traces back to August. Then September to December were where things actually like changed for me, and also maybe just because they're the most recent months of this year, I maybe just remember them better. But in my perception, September to December was where everything changed for me in terms of 2023. But it also changed in a very yin yang way, if you will, because these were like the months, like September and October were the months where I just worked, and I spent all that time just working on all sorts of like extracurricular shit. I'm not even gonna go into the school stuff, like everybody did that, but I kind of, I think, overburdened myself with a lot of other like outside school endeavors, if you will. And I don't think I've ever reached those levels of productivity before. Like in the same day, I was doing 20 different types of things, and all of them were somewhat unrelated to each other, excluding academics. And I was able to manage them really well. Like, I don't know, I just could do it. I just suddenly turned into this do it all person. And I still have no idea how, but I did. And as I was going like left and right with extracurriculars and everything under the sun, honestly, while spending multiple hours every day doing general stuff and also like trying to balance all of my friendships with it, the only thing on my mind used to be what I was supposed to get done, or finding more stuff to get done, and always looking out for more opportunities, dare I say, or looking out for something that I might be interested in, or something that I might end up being interested in if only I tried it once. And it never occurred to me that it's important for me to slow my roll, because I was like, well, this is just how it ought to be. This is fun. I like it. Is it difficult for me? Sure, but I like it. So that was like what really carried me. What was my excuse to keep overburdening myself with work, was that it was all work related to the stuff that I loved, like maybe writing. It was all just related to writing or speaking, and I love those things. So obviously they can't tire me out, right? Well, they did. I think I worked a little too hard by November. I was like, girl, nah, this is not gonna work. So I just like decreased the amount of workload on me, and I acknowledged that yes, it's alright, it's perfectly safe to work less, to maybe take on less work if you can't just get everything done to the best of your ability. And it's perfectly safe, it's perfectly fine. And I also started like socializing more towards the end of 2023. I was outgoing, I was hanging out with more people. I had gained this newfound like ability to hang out in bigger groups and everything, and talk to newer people, not just hanging out with the people that I've already known for years, but like talking to new people and like trying to connect with them, like people that I've not talked to before. And I don't really know what caused it. It was very sudden. It was like just a flip a switch moment, because I never remember like I don't remember trying to do it. I don't remember trying to be more social or consciously wanting to make new friends. I just know that it just happened on its own, and it was like overnight too. So it's one of the biggest mysteries how I did that. Honestly, I have no idea. But because of the amount of work that I did in the last like maybe 3 months, like September, October, and November, I think I was really starting to lose it by December, and I was like, this month is gonna be the month where I just like exist. And I do the work, I do stuff, but not as much. Don't let it like take over me as much, and without the excessive like existential dread and like the stress that I had been carrying for the past 3 months or something. It's safe to say that November and December were like two of my favorite months this year, because I kind of like let loose of myself and kind of told myself it's fine if I do things a little less intensely, and if I like slow my roll a little bit, because if I don't, I'm gonna be burnt out for one of the most important academic periods of my life that are only gonna begin next year, 2024, this year actually. I had to keep in mind that too, because I could not afford not being able to do work when I most needed to get it done. And I didn't have very high hopes for November and December this year, because of how they went in 2022. I wasn't really expecting extravagant joy or anything this year. I just wanted to survive these months, because there was like some, yeah, like I think my life did a whole 180 in these 2 months, and I made so many new memories, and I made so many new friends, and I met so many new people. And like my favorite thing I've done this month is just relax and do the things I like and talk to the people I like, and not talk to the ones I don't as much maybe. I did make a lot of memories. The favorite one being almost breaking my ankle. That was one dull moment, but I think these months treated me pretty well, and these months are also going to become like the ballpark figure for what I think I'm always going to remember 2023 as all the stuff that happened in November and December is what constitutes 2023 for me. So that was how 2023 went for me. Now I just want to talk about what I think I have gathered from this year, because I don't think I've changed quite this much in any other 365-day window before. Starting from validation, because I don't know, that just came to my mind. In terms of seeking external validation, I have made some backhanded progress, if you will. Because now, instead of seeking validation from other people or their opinions of me, I seek validation from my achievements. Like, yes, academic validation. And that is definitely not detrimental to my self perception in the slightest, and definitely doesn't hinder my ability to be a good sport. But unironically, I think seeking academic validation is better than seeking external validation from people, because it is way more consistent than relying on validation from other people, because like it's maybe just more in your control. I think I'm going to regret saying this in like 2 years. Alluding to that, I think I've also learned to be okay with not being the best or the winner, air quotes. Like in the beginning, I was like hit by this string of multiple victories where I was just like, oh my god, I did this and I won, and I did this and I'm the best at it. Suddenly, everybody recognizes me for it, and for a while, maybe that led me to believe that I can just do no wrong and absolutely never ever lose. And I attached a lot of my confidence to whether I win or lose, because in my head, I was just so much better. Like, I just could not lose. However, soon after the divine healers humbled me, I was hit with a string of continuous failures, very contrasting to my previous string of multiple victories. And that really did it for me, because I took that a little personally. Like, not saying I entered my redemption arc or something, I'm gonna save that for college. But yeah, a lot of those like failures taught me that improvement is necessary and it's only universal. And the only way to like sustain your victories, again air quotes, because there has never been another way, and I'm definitely not the best at every single thing that I do or attempt to do, and I'm never gonna be. So that should be my goal, to become better and closer to the best, if you will. Moving on from that, I also started my podcast this year, and even though I'd started working in this in October 2022, I slumped in the middle, but like, I still can't believe that it exists. I can't believe that this is for real. One thing that I cannot deny is how helpful this little goal was for me when I was going through my aforementioned academic weapon arc and all that stress of doing well. The only thing that helped me unwind after like a long day of solving horrible math equations and studying every single thing that I hated was to just like grab my laptop and start working on something related to this podcast or something even remotely in connection to it. I remember how badly I wanted its logo to be representative of everything, like substantiate every single thing that I was interested in, and how I thought no one could quote unquote capture my vision. Owing to the fact that I didn't even have one because it was just all over the place, I just wanted everything to be on one singular cover, because I thought that's what represented this. And it does, honestly. But I love AJ because she helped me. She sat with me on calls for hours. She corrected the angle of the cat's tail for as long as I wanted her to do it. I wanted the font to be like at the perfect height and the perfect angle, and I wanted everything to be so particular, and only she can have the patience to do that. And I think this podcast was so important for me in that respect, because it added a new dimension to what my friendship with her is, and also because it kind of helped me unwind from all of that extreme amount of stress that I was going through because of the worries that I would not perform as well as I like. I also remember the original bubble font of everything I've never said, and the 8 hours I spent trying to put random digital stickers on Canva together like with some color scheme. It looked like an ice cream stall banner at the time. It was so cartoony and I did not like it because that was not what I had in mind, but I thought only I was capable of putting into existence what I wanted. Safe to say AJ did a great job. But I'm pretty sure this podcast added to my coolness factor though. Either that or this makes me look like extremely repulsive, but I don't really care anymore because who's listening to this anyway? In terms of friendships, this year has given me so many new friends and such a great bunch of people that I think I'm gonna cherish and hold dear forever, if not remember forever at least. I think I've learned to talk to more people, as I said before, and I'm also down with hanging out with people with more than friend three. Like, I am down to hang out with more than three people at once. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but that's just like a thing with me. Whenever there's more than three people in a group, I just cannot hang out. Could not hang out. But now I can. I think I just acquired that ability too. And I have now learned to try to make friends everywhere I can because the more the merrier. And I know that more people know me now, and I know more people, and I find myself wanting to know more people. And that's a big change from who I used to be last year. I was pretty into just what I was doing and like the two friends that I had, and I only really cared about them, and I still do. But now I'm willing to like expand my circle a bit and talk to more people and maybe find my way back to some of the people that I had lost. And I did that this year. I did a lot of that this year. I did find my way back to some of the old friends that I had lost along the way. And I think I've been both a failure and, in some cases, really successful at it because I've managed to gain back, I hope, the friendships of some of the people I'd lost but missed so terribly. And that's also helped me, like, with the guilt of maybe those friendships ending, I think. But I've definitely also learned to let go of some friendships and some people. And it doesn't always have to be because of like a concrete reason that your friendships end. Sometimes you just grow apart and things happen and then you don't remain as close anymore. And I think that bothers me so much, especially because I'm like such an avid old conversation and chat reader, and sometimes when I do that I end up like looking back at how close I used to be with some people and I'm not anymore. But I've learned to let go of like older friendships, especially like when I was like a little kid. It's sad, but it's true that you cannot just stay in touch with everyone, and it is extremely difficult to pull that off, especially when there's like a lack of contact and the amount of times you meet each other. Sometimes I just think of whether I would want to look back and live this year again if I had the chance, if I was given the opportunity to go through 2023 again. Will I? Because, like, all in all, this year has given me patience and it's given me a lot of chances to self actualize. It has given me days where I was productive, so productive, and days where I did nothing at all, but I did not feel guilty about it, which is also progress if you look at it. It gave me some really great new friends. It gave me the love back from some old friends that I thought I'd lost forever. It also strengthened some of my pre existing friendships. It also helped me develop connections with more people and find some new hobbies and resurrect some old ones. And also, in terms of what I am now, I think I'm better at managing my emotions and I'm better at being patient. And I'm also way less gloomy and despondent than I used to be in 2022. But then there were also like some pretty bad days in 2023 where I was just stressed because of academics, or I was just stressed because of the amount of work I was doing, and maybe sometimes I was stressed because I felt really lonely. But in like the bigger scheme, if I was given the chance, would I go through 2023 again? I think I probably would. Because now that I look back at it, this year was good. And I made some really great memories, and I think I would love to live through them again. Obviously, if I could, I would cut back the negative parts, but I think this year kind of broke the streak of the worst years of my life and added a little bit of hope to my very despondent self, because I tend to be a pessimist, and maybe this year somewhat restored that, or maybe like fixed that a bit. This was Lakshata. I love you so much, and I see you soon. Bye bye.